Hi, Kim. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So, how did things go last week? I know when we last talked, you had mentioned that Ashley has moved back in with you and she's still having some issues with her husband in regards to domestic violence. So, give me an update on that. How's that going?
Um, it's been stressful lately because when I come home, my sister wants to talk about her husband, the situation she goes through, and I just try to look at her like, why are you still going through it? But that's her husband. I've just been really stressed with talking to her because I'm having to listen to everything she say and trying to figure out why she's still there. Well, she's with me,
Mhm.
but she wants to go back.
Really? Now, how do you feel about that? Did y'all have that conversation or?
I feel like I walk on eggshells when I'm talking to her because she'll hear me, but then she'd get upset that I'm trying to get her to be her best self
Mhm.
without going back to him. So it's really complicated.
What about your family? I mean, is there anybody, family or friends that you can kind of talk to relieve some of the stress or the heaviness of?
When they listen to me, they're just like, you should just drop her. Just kick her out of the house. You ain't got to worry about it. But I mean, blood is thicker than water, and I want to make sure that my sister has somewhere to be.
That's understandable. And it sounds like, one of the strengths that your family does have is, regardless of what outsiders are doing, you and your sister really seem to stick together. You really seem to be there for her through this. I think it's difficult for a lot of people who haven't been in the situation to really understand or give a solid input on really how to help you. So that's one thing I do want to talk about today. Um, have you ever heard of something called problem tracking?
I have no clue what that is.
Okay, so let me just give you a brief explanation about it. So, problem tracking is when, different members of the family would kind of look at some of those target behaviors that we want to work on and identify patterns within those behaviors so that you can kind of start working on a resolution to overcoming them. Um, Obviously, it's clear to you, I'm sure, that your sister has patterns because she's continuing to return to her husband after the abuse. But let's talk about some of your patterns that might be present. What do you think might be going on as far as your involvement in the situation?
I'm the listener, so I'm having to take in everything she says, and I want to have the solution for her. So it's like maybe I'm not giving her a chance to work on herself and think about it more. So I'm the one that's coming up with stuff for her to try, and it's not working.
Are you open to the fact that there may be some boundaries issues with you guys?
Probably. I'm, I want to say because we're so close and we're
Hmm.
always talking about stuff. Um, I think I get intertwined with her emotions, and it's just becoming difficult for me to break that part. Like saying, okay, well now you gotta make a choice. It's hard to listen without responding.
That's very insightful that you mentioned that. Because I was going to ask you, when she does have these conversations with you, how are you feeling when it's going on? Because I'm sure she's probably given you, before you mentioned she's given you explicit details of everything that transpired. I mean, is it overwhelming? Is it uncomfortable? Do you feel kind of trapped in the moment, like I gotta listen to her to help her get it out? Or
I feel trapped and it's overwhelming because I'm just like I just want to shake her lovingly and just like get out of this. Why are
Mhm.
you doing this to yourself? But this what our family has been through, like just so much trauma with us, and I'm trying to move forward with her being there, but it's a little hindering too. So I feel like maybe I'm putting in too much say for her versus her saying for her own self.
Do you feel like because of the trauma that you guys went through as kids, as the older sister, you kind of have an obligation to try to protect her and shield her now?
Yes, because I left the house, so now I'm kind of getting the blame that, oh, you left us with mom, and then her her boyfriends did this to everybody. So now I'm like trying to make up for that time, and it's a little difficult.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you also open to the fact that you're still working on some internal issues yourself and that maybe it might not be the best to kind of take on your sister's problems at this time?
Yeah, there's some stuff I'm working on. I kind of shut down what I've been working on because the focus has been on her now. But I do know I need to get back to working on myself.
So I do want to explore boundaries with you a little bit, um, because I want you to feel more comfortable creating necessary emotional distance to keep yourself safe. A lot of times when people have been traumatized and they're discussing it over and over, even if you weren't present, even if you weren't involved, it's almost like reliving some of your own trauma, which is what we call revictimization. So it may not be safe for you emotionally to continue to hear those types of conversations over and over. So it might be a good idea to kind of discuss some parameters or some boundaries if she is going to be staying with you so that she knows what, is safe for us to discuss and what's not going to be so safe. If she chooses not to respect that, then you have to make another decision about, how can we continue to have conversations where I also feel safe as well, but so do you. Um, and in that moment where you do feel stressed out and overwhelmed with the situation, I want to work on some stress management skills with you as well. When you're stressed out, what are some of the things that you do to try to relax yourself or calm yourself?
I know it's bad. I grab a couple drinks. Sometimes those drinks become too many, and I get a little giggly in the house.
hmm
Um, I kind of isolate from people. I know it's bad. I don't really want to always talk to everybody. Sometimes I try to take a shower. Uh, I might smoke a little weed just to try to calm like nervousness.
Okay. Can I make some suggestions and maybe some things you might want to try in addition to that?
Sure.
So, since you had mentioned that you do tend to isolate, if you are going off by yourself, how do you feel about meditation?
Well, never tried it. Uh, can't hurt.
Okay.
Little weed and a little meditation might work.
That's something we can definitely explore a little bit more. I know one of the things that a lot of clients tell me is that they do seem to come to a sense of clarity about things when they are off by themselves and they are able to kind of meditate or woosah, so to say, so they can kind of, not have all of these opinions and thoughts and people saying things to them because in that moment they're able to kind of tunnel inward and kind of focus on what they're feeling without being overwhelmed by what everybody else around them is feeling. So that might be something that you can try. And I'll give you some worksheets on some different meditation techniques if that's something you're interested in.
Okay.
I also wanted to talk to you about um, just the situation with the family, um, just not really feeling supported and trying to help your sister. How has that been for you? Just kind of, I'm feeling like you're on your own doing this.
Makes me angry because you should be able to talk to your family. But when you got the same issues going on, nobody wants to really talk about it. Um, my mom gets angry with me because I bring up how I feel, and I know she knows, but she doesn't want to accept it. It's hurtful. I would like to see a better connection. I don't know if we'll get it though. It's been a while, being away from home, seeing everybody. When I come and feel like I'm the black sheep of the family because I chose to leave.
And you mentioned before that mom had experienced some domestic violence issues in the past. Are you open to the possibility that it may be too traumatizing for her to maybe deal with it, and this is her defense mechanism to kind of stay out of it?
She just goes numb. It's like it happened, but she goes numb. She doesn't want to talk about it. I want her to talk about it because I'm getting angry and frustrated that I had to go through it and I had to make the choice to be away. I want to have that connection, I don't know. She doesn't speak. She doesn't talk.
I think it might be worth it to maybe try to have a conversation with them about maybe coming in for a family session.
They're not gonna listen.
I don't know how they'll feel about it, but there may be a way to kind of shape the situation to where it doesn't, they won't necessarily think about it like I'm going in and being analyzed and the defenses won't come up. Um, Maybe have a conversation with them and say, hey, I'm still struggling with some stuff right now and I need some support. Because right now it's like they're not supporting your sister, but they might come to support you because now the focus is not on their issues.
I don't
And
know.
they won't feel
It's
like they're under the
it's
microscope, you know?
hard to get everybody together on the same path of what we need to do.
Well, let's
So,
start with mom and let's start with sister since sister's already staying with you. And just see if they're open to it. If they are, we can start there, um, and see where we can get with kind of reshaping a lot of those issues that are going on. I don't want you to feel that because they're not supportive of you helping your sister right now, that it's just they're not being supportive. It may be that this is the only way they know how without being sucked in and having to become responsible for it because they're dealing with their own stuff right now. One of the things you mentioned is that you've kind of shut down on your own stuff. They might not be in a position to do that right now. That might be why they're kind of shutting everybody out. And that's why I want to see how they might feel about coming in for the family session because some things may be revealed that you didn't know about.
I can try. I could talk to them, see what they say, see what my mom say. I'm interested. I want to ask her why this happened to us. Why did you allow it to happen? I'm getting the blame that I caused my siblings to stay where they didn't want to.
What would be if they do agree to come in? Specifically, just talking about your sister, we can focus on her for a minute. What are your expectations of her? What do you need from her, whether it be emotionally, um, physically, relationship wise? What would you like to see
Um,
change?
I would hate to say it, just not to keep talking about going back to Derek. I'm just getting tired and a little burnt out from it when it's the same thing. You vent to me, but didn't make it. So maybe figure out how we can talk about not talking about him. I know this is our situation, but it's very hard
Now, again, going back to boundaries, we can establish boundaries with our family, but they may not abide by them. So if that's something that she doesn't find herself unable to talk about, what would you then require from her? Would you be interested in maybe trying to have a conversation with her about different resources that can specifically help her with the situation and kind of direct her in that path?
for me. I think that would be good. 'Cause I'm just so tired, and then I see her have the same thing happen, and I'm scared that she'll get hurt more than what she has been.
So one thing that I want to work on with you then is maybe if your sister's willing to come in, maybe doing a role play to see how that situation will play out so that if you don't get the reaction that you're looking for when you do try to direct her in that path, we kind of know how to lead that conversation. Um, what about your mom? What do you need from her? What are your expectations from her?
Closure, um, honesty, really. Like, when did this happen to her? Why is it taking so long to kind of fix it? Are you going to fix it? Try to get all of us together again. That would be nice.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you some homework.
Oh,
So when you leave today, when we come back in for the next session, I definitely want you to reach out to me when you've had an opportunity to speak with your family, to see what their willingness or their openness is to coming in for a session. I want you to think about throughout the week when you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, when you feel yourself getting stressed out, what it's connected to.
okay.
And then think about some things in that moment based off of the list of things that you gave me, some healthy behaviors and maybe some behaviors that are not so healthy that you want to change or maybe